Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I will now proceed to read the land acknowledgement. On behalf of the board, we acknowledge the land we are meeting on today is located on the traditional territory of many indigenous peoples, such as the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat, and Métis peoples, and the treaty territories of the Haudenosaunee, Mississaugas, the Credit First Nation, and Williams Treaties First Nations. York Region falls under Nanfan Treaty, Treaty 13, and Williams Treaties. There are also other land claims and treaty rights involving portions of York Region that have not been resolved. Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation is a Williams Treaty First Nation and the closest First Nation community to York Region. May I disclose any disclosure of interests? I see and hear none. Confirmation of public minutes of October 5th, 2022. Who would like to move that? Chair, would you like to move that? Pellegrini, would you like to second that? Thank you. Any opposition? Motion carries. We'll now proceed to the swearing in of a new member of the board. Actually, this individual is making an encore performance here at the board. He was a member already, and it is indeed a pleasure for me to welcome Mario Cortolucci to the Police Services Board. Mr. Cortolucci was appointed to the York Regional Police Services Board by the province of Ontario. Mr. Cortolucci was president and founder of Cortel Group, is very dedicated to the health, safety, and well-being of communities, not only in York Region, but in many other places all around the world. His philanthropic efforts have benefited numerous causes, including education for children and youth in need, healthcare facilities, the outdoors, and Indigenous communities. Mr. Mario Cortolucci is the founder and chairman of the Universal Youth Foundation, a Canadian registered charity whose vision and goals are to provide educational assistance to children and youth in need throughout the world. Because of his many generous efforts, he has been recognized with the Merit of Brotherhood Award at the second annual Spirit of Community event, and is the recipient of the first CIIM Entrepreneurial Award of Excellence, to name but a few. Importantly, in 2018, Mr. Cortolucci was installed as the Grand Prior of Canada for the Knights Hospitalier of the Sovereign Order of St. John of Jerusalem Knights of Malta, a ecumenical order. He's also the recipient of the Order of Ontario, as well as the Order of Vaughan. This obviously is a brief description of all the great achievements that he has made. He strongly believes in giving back, and his community involvement is extensive and far-reaching, including, of course, the very contribution he has made to healthcare in York Region. And you probably all have noticed that in Vaughan, our hospital is called the Cortolucci Vaughan Hospital, a testament to his great involvement in our community. I kindly ask you to welcome, you, Mr. Cortolucci, to the Police Services Board, and wish you much success in this very important role.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayo.
Hello, thank you, Board Chair, and Mr. Cortolucci. Welcome back. We will now ask you to swear an oath of office for this term as board member. I believe you may have a copy in front of you, but I'll take you through the oath. And if you could repeat after me, and we will proceed with the public swearing in. I, Mario Cortolucci, solemnly swear that I will be loyal to His Majesty the King.
I, Mario Cortolucci, solemnly swear that I will be loyal to His Majesty the King.
And that I will uphold the Constitution of Canada, and that I will to the best of my ability.
And that I will uphold the Constitution of Canada, and that I will, to the best of my ability,
discharge my duties as a member of the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board.
Discharge my duty as a member of the Regional Municipal of York Police Service Board
faithfully, impartially, and according to the Police Services Act.
Faithfully, impartial, and according to the Police Service Act.
And any other act, regulation, rule, or bylaw.
and any other act, regulation, rules, or bylaws.
Thank you. You've now been sworn in as a member of the Police Services Board under the oath of office, probably different from the last time that we're doing it virtually here. But thank you for that. And I will now ask you to swear the Police Services Board oath of secrecy. I, Mario Cortellucci, solemnly swear
I, Mario Cortellucci, solemnly swear
that I will not disclose any information obtained by me in the course of my duties
that I will not disclose any information obtained by me in the course of my duty
as a member of the York Regional, the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board,
as a member of the Regional Municipality of York Police Service Board,
except as may be authorized or required by law.
except as may be authorized or required by law. Sorry,
Thank you very much, Mr. Cortellucci.
thank you.
Thank you, Rich. And congratulations, Mr. Cortellucci, for being appointed by the province to this very important board.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Well, 5.2, Mafalda is vice chairs, right?
Yes, Vice Chair.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mello. Thank you, Mayor Bevilacqua and Chair of the Police Services Board. And once again, congratulations and welcome to Mayor Cortellucci becoming a board member of this, probably the best board in Ontario with the police services. It's kind of odd when you swear things in nowadays, you say king. I've done a few swearing ins in my day and being sworn in and sworn at a few times, but the queen always was there, but now it's been the king, and it kind of odd to hear that at the odd time. So a little different. But anyways, this is Chair Bevilacqua's last board meeting, and we want to take this time to acknowledge Mauricio's leadership and commitment to this board, to the police services, and to the citizens of York Region. Mayor Bevilacqua's appointment on the board will end this month, and we want to thank him for his service on the board. Mayor Bevilacqua was appointed by York Regional Council in October 2017. He has served as chair since 2021. Chair Bevilacqua's impact on police oversight, governance, and community safety in the region will have a long-lasting impact. His dedication to diversity, equity, and inclusion was evident in the support for advancing the board's education on this important issue. As chair, as a member of the board, Mayor Bevilacqua is overseeing many important changes to the region's police services, including recruitment and appointment of 6 deputy chiefs and a new chief of police in 2020. He has been an integral part of the approval processes for police budgets and business plans, and has continued to support one of the safest communities in Canada, and has ensured the deployment of adequate and effective policing services, further to the board's mandate under the Police Services Act. As a member of the board, Chair Bevilacqua has supported engagement with our many community partners and strongly supported development of strong relationships with our many diverse communities. During this pandemic, Mauricio's strong direction allowed the board to continue to conduct its important business in a seamless way. His strong support has been imperative to the board and to its success. So on behalf of the board and of the citizens of the region, I would like to thank you, sir, and recognize you for your dedication and commitment and extension contributions to good governance and to the community safety in York Region. Well, sir, we're going to miss you. Vaughan's going to miss you. York Region's going to miss you, and this board's going to miss you. So I've appreciated working with you, call you a good friend and a great gentleman. So now I'd like to turn it over to Chief McSween to say a few words. Then I'll give you a chance, sir, to say a few words.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, Vice Chair. Chair, I just wanted to, on behalf of our 2,300 people here that have relied on your governance, your leadership, and your support over the past many years you've been on the board, 5 years on the board, and over the last year as our chair, and then previous to that, the vice chair. And I'll just echo the vice chair's comments around, you know, you've assisted us greatly in navigating some really turbulent times through social injustice, through a pandemic, and then on to to trying to navigate all of the nuances around equity and inclusion, and put forth some great initiatives at the board level to sort of drive things forward. And that will be felt for years to come. I know that. On a personal note, I want to thank you. Our men and women do a great job here at York Regional Police. We've been among the top 100 employers in the GTA, but you can never do that without great governance and great people sitting at the board supporting that work. And you were one of those staunch supporters of this organization. And I believe we are as good as we are because of the leaders at the board level, and you're one of those leaders. So I also want to just pass on my thoughts, to you in your somewhat retirement. You're stepping away from Vaughan, but I know there's probably bigger and better things for you and other things that you'll do in the future. And I want to thank you for your friendship over the past few years as well. We've had some very good conversations about leadership and where things are and where things need to be. So I just really appreciate everything you've done for us, and you take care of yourself, and we will be in touch whenever you need us. So thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the kind words. And I only want to say one thing. In my life, I've always been given one opportunity to do something that I love, and that is public service. And so I really need to thank individuals like yourselves who have given me the opportunity to serve. That's essentially what my life has all been about, and it's been very rewarding, meaningful, and purposeful. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate it very much. Okay, so now talking about public service and meaningful and purposeful existence. We're going to keep on that narrative and theme today when I make my remarks on Deputy Chief Bingra's retirement badge presentation. I want to take a moment, and I do think that's very important to take a moment to and be very present when we pay tribute to Deputy Chief Bingra for his exceptional career. And I say this on behalf of the York Regional Police Services Board, but also on behalf of the citizens of Vaughan. Deputy Bingra retired after 32 years of dedicated service to the community and to York Regional Police, including serving his final years as Deputy Chief of Police. Brian joined York Regional Police in 1990 and has worked in number 2 and number 4 districts, uniform patrol, criminal investigations, drugs, advice, hold-up training and education, and the real-time operations center. Throughout his career, his accomplishments and ongoing commitment to combating organized crime have made an immense difference in this service, and a remarkable difference in our community. In addition, his professionalism and dedication have helped strengthen community partnerships by working closely with numerous community organizations, including the South Lake Foundation Addiction Services of Central Ontario, the YRP Integrated Strategic Community Advisory Council, and B'nai B'rith Advisory Council to the League of Human Rights. Deputy Chief Bingra has also dedicated his time as a volunteer with St. John Ambulance. Brian, your contributions to community safety and citizens engagement have been extensive through innovative programs and crime prevention initiatives, and have increased trust with the many communities in this region. I need to stop here for a second and highlight how important that work is as we see the changing dynamics of society, not just locally, but also globally. The Police Services Board extends its gratitude for your numerous contributions during your policing career and in your role as Deputy Chief. On behalf of the board and the citizens of this region, I would like to extend our gratitude for your years of exceptional service and for your numerous contributions in your career as a police officer. I would like to express our well wishes to you and your family and the very best in your future endeavors. Let me conclude by saying this: that individuals like yourselves are really rare and I think that although you may be, and I say this in quotation mark, retiring, because I don't think people in public service ever retire. I do hope that one of the things you will do in the future is to become an ambassador for policing, seek opportunity to speak about how important this role is to society. Today, the interest in becoming a police officer and becoming a member of this community is not what it used to be. And I think that we need to encourage more people to see the light when it comes to policing. And I say this because I noticed the number of applications to become police officers have dramatically changed. And by that, I mean they're on the decline. People need to understand that in a democracy, policing is extremely important, that human rights, rule of law, discipline in society is what keeps us going, what keeps us growing. I always say that discipline is the shortest way to freedom. And I do think that policing in many ways represents those values that are very important to highlight, to promote, to be committed to. And so as chair of the board, I mean, and this may be too big of a ask for it, but please consider telling your story, consider sharing your stories with particularly the upcoming generation of people that are looking for something meaningful and purposeful to do with their own personal lives. I say this because I detect in our society that need, and I hope that you can help us fulfill that as well. Thank you so much. Deputy Chief, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to all members of the Police Services Board, past, present, and welcome to Mr. Cortellucci as well. I truly appreciate those very kind words, Chair. I have so much gratitude for my career. I've always been super passionate about public safety, starting at a very young age. So I'm truly honored to have served as a police officer in the province of Ontario for over 32 years, and specifically serve in the community of York Region, which I believe is truly an honorable community indeed. A community that has not only grown rapidly over the years, but a community that is made up of a diverse mosaic of peoples and cultures that have chosen to come together in unison. This, to me, is truly what Canada, our country, is all about. And I do want to highlight the tremendous privilege it was for me to serve alongside all YRP members, past, present, civilian, and sworn members who share the same passion for public safety and community health and well-being as I do. I would say that York Region, our community, which absolutely includes YRP, is well positioned and very fortunate for the commitment of all of our members, our board, the members of the Region of York, all of our public safety partners and public service members, and all of our community leaders. So it has been a true honor and a true privilege, and I wish nothing but success and continued good fortune for everyone here and everyone in the region of York and beyond. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Chief?
Yeah, so good morning, Brian. Haven't seen you since you left. It's been we did have some time to talk about your career back when we had your retirement celebration, but I'll echo what the chair said. Look, you and I have been able to work together for over 30 years, and I've known you as just a stand-up guy, somebody who really put his best foot forward always for the organization and his people, and somebody who I truly enjoyed working with and had a lot of fun working with too, because that is a big part of this this profession is you have to find opportunities to make light of the fact that sometimes we're in some very trying situations together, and we have to navigate that together. And you were here during the later part of your career for some pretty critical and trying times throughout, as I mentioned, with the chair, the pandemic, social injustice, and your good guidance and your advice was always appreciated and well placed. So from me to you, I hope you're south somewhere enjoying it. I thought we had an imposter here today when I saw you on screen. You look a little different, but it looks like you're settling into some form of retirement. And I look forward to when you're back and we can get together in person. I do have something for you. I'll give it to you virtually, and then I hope to see you in person and do this. I have your retirement badge here. As best you can see it, it's there, and I will hand that off to you. And I have a little gift for you. As much as you were here during the ball caps, we've got one with 799 on it. So once I see you, I will hand that off to you as well. So well done, Brian. Thanks for everything you've done for YRP and our members. And I wish you nothing but success, happiness, and health in your in the future for you and your family. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Deputy Chief De Silva, you have your hand up, or is that an applause?
Just an applause, Chair.
Yes, okay. We can continue that. Deputy is very deserving of our applause and praises. Thank you, and enjoy retirement.
Thank you, much appreciated. And Chief, thank you for those kind words as well. When I do come back north in a month or so, I will reach out and we can do an official handoff and say hello. So cheers, everybody. Thank you.
Be well, stay safe. Okay, now we move to item 5.4, which is a path forward reporting of the York Regional Police Services Board Anti-Black Racism and Building Community Trust Committee. And we have Professor Akwazi Owusu-Bempah, who's here with us. Welcome once again. We look forward to hearing from you. You may begin at your convenience.
Good morning. Thank you very much. And I am going to do my best to share this PowerPoint. Just bear with me a second here. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you this morning and to share the product of the work that was put together by this fantastic committee. As many of you will know, in July of 2020, the board and service leadership held consultations with members of York Region's Black communities in order to gauge their perceptions of and experiences with policing following the murder of George Floyd in the United States and the kind of broad conversations about issues of race, racial inequality, and policing that swept across not only the United States, but of course, Canada and other countries. Community representatives, as part of these consultations, brought forth a total of 51 recommendations or proposals for change, and 8 of these were directed at the board itself. And so in the spring of 2021, the board's Anti-Racism and Building Community Trust Committee was formed, ultimately with a mandate of examining and addressing these recommendations from the point of the board. I think it's imperative to highlight membership here in alphabetical order of committee members. This was a group of committed committee members who put in substantial time to contribute to what was ultimately the report that was produced and have committed to helping move the board forward with respect to the recommendations that came from our report itself. So I hope that you've all had a chance to read in depth the report. If you've not done so yet, I would strongly suggest doing so. Here are the key areas in which, so as part of the committee work, we reviewed the recommendations that came from the public and tried to fit those really into what made sense in terms of broad policing and police governance themes. The committee members brought their diverse perspectives and experiences. So we've got representation, of course, from the board itself, members of the community generally, as well as from current and serving service members. The key areas that are addressed in the report relate to anti-racism and the governance role of the board. board and police accountability, transparency, the need for race-based data, consultation, training, evaluation, and measurement, and the budget. So if I take a step back, rather than going through each of these sections and essentially what was recommended, what became clear from our work was that both the board and certainly at the service level, there had been substantial work to address at times diversity broadly, but also to address and work to meet the needs of York Region's racialized communities and address their concerns in the context of policing. But what also became clear was that many of these initiatives and pieces of work were done so in disparate areas of the service, and there was a sense that there was a bit of a lack of cohesion with respect to what we describe as the need for a comprehensive anti-racism strategy. So one of the things that we communicate, I think, quite clearly in the report itself is that the board must play a key role in advancing anti-racism and equitable policing at the service level. And this, should make perfect sense to both the service and the board. But importantly, recognizing that the board not need worry too much about verging into operations and trying to help the service move forward in this sense. And so anti-racism and equitable policing can be advanced by the board, and the board has a responsibility, as I've said, to do this through largely the development of related policy and reporting requirements for the chief itself. So what we have recommended in a nutshell is a comprehensive anti-racism strategy at both the board level as well as at the service level, with the board helping the service, helping guide the service's work as well. And we know that the service, of course, has its own experts that are working on related issues. But first and foremost, again, from our perspective, there's work that the board needs to do in terms of developing its own strategies, in terms of reviewing its own policies, in terms of developing its own consultation plan, and determining how, in a comprehensive way, it's going to help the service to move forward as it should. So I will pause there, and I hope that there will be questions from either the board or members of the public.
Thank you so much. Now let's get back to the screen so I could see somebody's hand up. Jennifer, do you have a question?
Thank you. Thank you, Professor, and thanks, Maurizio. I don't have a question, but I would like to make a quick comment, please. I think that the professor and the committee has done an excellent job. Very comprehensive review of the strategy. And I think it also thanks to our chair Maurizio's dedication in this space. And I've had the opportunity to serve on several boards, public and private, and I understand how important the chair role is. The chair sets the tone. And so the governance of the board does play an important role in terms of strategy and execution in working with the service. So thanks again to the chair in leading this initiative or guiding this initiative, giving it the priority, and also to the committees and professor. And I'll just also want to say that any strategy is only as good as a piece of paper if there's no execution. So I think next step of developing implementation plan, especially prioritizing it, because we all know in public sector things do not move very fast, unfortunately. So you might want to start with some small baby steps, not easy wins, relatively quick wins, and building that momentum. So I think prioritization is very important, given the comprehensive and extensive amount of recommendations. So I think there's continual work to be done indeed, but this is a great start. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if I may, just for 1 second, I want to specifically thank Walter and Norma and Jennifer and Mafalda for your participation. was very important role that you've all played. But I see the chief's hand up, so I'm going to go to the chief and then continue my comments after the chief speaks. Go ahead, chief.
Yeah, be very brief. Thank you, Chair. Professor, nice to see you again. I think last time we did this, I might have been out of the province. But really looking forward to, first off, thanks for the report and thanks to the board for producing this very valuable work. I will say that, and as I mentioned before, on the inside of our organization, we have two facets of work going on that I'm hoping to see synchronized with the work that you've done here. And at that time it will be an opportune time for us to collectively prioritize where we go and how fast we want to get there. And I look forward to that. So Deputy Chief Rouse is finalized some work with our ISN, our internal support network. And of course, Inspector Colin Alexander sits at that table as well. And we have our own consultants finalizing some work and hope to see a draft report on their work in the next 30 days or so. So once that all occurs, I think we'll be in a great place to sit down with all three reports and let's start to collectively move forward. So anyways, just wanted to thank you for the work and just let you know a little bit of what's going on the inside. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to echo the words that you said about all the members that in fact have contributed. Professor, you know, when work is done, one of the major things, and sometimes we forget this, is that it's very important for all of us to communicate and to communicate about our work. And so I would like to give you a few minutes to speak directly to the residents of York Region to provide a narrative for the work that you've been involved in, and also to give them a sense of the salient points of the report. Because I do think that, and this is something that I've spoken to the chief about, is that sometimes a lot of work gets done, but when it's not communicated, it's kind of lost. And so I'd like for you to have the floor for next 3, 4, 5 minutes, as many minutes as to kind of speak directly to the residents of York Region about the important work that you have completed. But we also know that this is just the beginning of an action plan that should address many of the concerns cited.
Thank you, Chair. Excellent. So, you know, if we take a bird's eye view at this, we're in a period now where issues of race and racial disparities and racial discrimination are coming under great scrutiny across different social sectors, and policing, of course, and this is not new within policing, but policing is no exception. And as I mentioned, you know, York Regional Police and the board as well have been paying attention to these issues, and work has been advancing on related matters for some time now. But what we're seeing both in York Region and in other jurisdictions is, as I mentioned, this work is done often almost siloed within institutions, and the York Regional Police to an extent has experienced this. And so, again, what came very clear through the work that we did, and if I, you know, again, take a step back, what we've done is take the recommendations that have come from the community, use kind of my experience and that of the board members to understand what that meant for York Region, and that's the York Regional Police Service Board and the York Regional Police. And that's how we came up with these key areas: anti-racism and the governance role of the board, accountability, transparency, race-based data collection, consultation, training, evaluation, and the budget itself. And then what we did is we had a look, of course, Mafalda was able to provide us from the board's perspective with insight as to where policies and practice lay in each of these areas. The service was great with respect to the provision of information. I had conversations with service members, as well as, of course, the service's own consultants on these issues to understand, because, of course, as I said, 51 of these recommendations were tabled in total. 8 came to the board, leaving the majority of them for the service itself. And there was great overlap with those as well. And so we had to understand, again, what it was that the service was doing. In thinking about the role of police service boards, again, from the work that we did and the review of the kind of academic and gray literature, the expert literature on these topics, and listening to other experts, it became very clear that the board does play a key role in advancing anti-racism, not only at the board level, but at the service level as well. And to do so strategically through the development of appropriate policies and through the advancement of reporting requirements. It became very clear as well that a comprehensive plan was needed, and that comprehensive plan had to be data-driven. So at the moment, the York Regional Police Service it collects race-based data, collects data on the race of individuals that that come into contact with officers and that are processed in different ways. But again, doesn't do so in a comprehensive manner. And if we want to truly understand how members of different groups experience and perceive policing, then we need to have adequate data that includes the race of those individuals. So at the moment, it's not clear whether there's great disproportionality in terms of rates of stop and search, what the outcomes of those stops and searches are, who's detained following an arrest, for example, and what the outcome of those arrests are. There are mandated reporting requirements around street checks or regulated interactions, as well as around use of force. But those are very narrow pieces of not inconsequential, but they don't span the whole gamut of what the police do. And so a comprehensive race-based data strategy is most definitely needed to help, again, understand how people perceive and experience the police. And I think importantly through our work, it became clear that not only does the service need to be looking outward and the board looking outward, pardon me, with respect to this work, but also inward as well. This work came about not only because of the recommendations that came from the community, but we also heard, and the board had heard from racialized members of the service about their experiences with discrimination in multiple kind of areas of the work that they do. And I know this from my work as well. Racism and bias have not only been a feature of the policing of the public, but also of the experience, especially of Black and of Asian and South Asian officers. So again, what is clearly needed here is the development of solid policy that will support an anti-racism strategy at the board level. This policy is going to cover this policy will cover the gamut of what the service does ultimately. And key in communicating to the public is the need for kind of ongoing public and community consultation. And that consultation, it came very clear through our work, really needs to be a two-way street. It's not simply enough for the board and for a service to simply communicate things to the public, but of course, as well, to listen to what it is that the public has to tell the board and has to tell the service. And so that communication strategy, and we provide examples, with respect to the race-based data strategy, Toronto provides a great example. With respect to communication strategy, the Ottawa Police Service Board has a great strategy in place, a great policy in place. So there are examples out there that we can move forward with. Again, when you look at most of the kind of outcome indicators, when you look at levels of crime across different crime types in York Region, the residents of York Region are very fortunate to live where they do, because for most people, York is a very safe place to live. And, that's a testament to the community itself and the work that the police do. But of course, there are issues that have arisen, which were presented to the service and the board in terms of those recommendations. So I can ramble for hours. I will pause. I was given 3 or 4 minutes. I don't know exactly how many of those that was, but and then again, if there are any specific questions on any of the pieces that I touched upon, please do ask them.
Yes, no, thank you. That was very helpful, and very helpful to the people that are listening to us and watching this meeting. I want to thank you. I don't see any questions, but I do want to thank once again the members of the committee and yourself, Professor, for your insights and perspectives. They're very, very helpful. And this is a good start. It's not the end, it's just a good start. Good start. We've consolidated some information. We have some findings. We have recommendations that we have to act upon. But I do think that there are reasons to be hopeful and optimistic, because we have openness on the board, openness obviously with the chief and his team, and a great connection with the various groups of the community, and that to me is essential. So I once again want to thank you.
And if I may say one other thing, I think York Region is well positioned to kind of jump far ahead of many of its peers with respect to this work, based on the fact that the board and the service are tackling these issues in such a meaningful way at the moment. So Chair, much appreciation for seeing this move forward as it has now. And as you've said, implementation and carrying it forward is key. There's such good work that's been done thus far, and it must be acted upon.
Thank you so much, Professor. And we're very mindful of your dedication and commitment to this committee. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great day. This item obviously has, as you know, because you've all gone through your agenda, is also a report item 8.5. So if I can just have a mover and a seconder, Norma and Jennifer, would you like to move and second that? All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. Thank you so much. So strike 8.5. Okay, that is done. I'm going to defer to the Chief of Police on guns, gangs, and violence reduction. Chief, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. First off, I'd like to welcome Mr. Cortellucci to the board once again. I did have some time to work with him back in probably 2010 or so when I was in community services. So welcome, sir. We look forward to working with you again. And I also want to let you know, Mr. Chair, that I have Superintendent Jen McHugh is here today acting as the acting deputy chief for Cecile Hammond, who's away. And we have our new executive officer here for her first board meeting today, Superintendent Christina Dawson, as you can see on screen. So I wanted to welcome them. And alternate, also you have Superintendent Duncan McIntyre on screen. Duncan oversees the organized crime and intelligence section, and it's his team today who I'll turn it over to carry us on with the presentation. Inspector Ahmed Salia, Detective Sergeant Rich Cadet, and our intelligence analyst, Sue Dunlop. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to them. Thank you.
Chief, we have everybody here today, it seems.
You know, I just wanted to bring the dream team here, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chair Bevilacqua. Thank you very much for your service, and welcome, Mr. Cortellucci. So as the chief mentioned, I'll just point them out in their order here, not of importance, but of where they sit. At the table, we have Inspector Salia, Detective Sergeant Godet, and Sue Dunlop. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Ahmed to take us away.
Thank you. Chair Bevilacqua, Chairman Emerson, members of the board, and everyone joining us here today. Good morning. As the deputy indicated, my name is Ahmed Salia. I'm in charge of the Organized Crime Enforcement Bureau, and I'm joined here today by my colleagues, Detective Sergeant Richard Cadet and our crime analyst, Sue Dunlop. Today, we're going to be providing you with a landscape of the guns and gangs in our region and our gun gang enforcement strategy. Let me share the screen here. Will we share? Sorry.
Good morning. York Regional Police recognizes the devastating impact guns and gangs have on the communities we serve locally, provincially, and nationally. York Regional Police is combating this type of violent crime through our guns, gangs, and violence reduction strategy. Our strategy is based on the following 4 pillars. Intelligence. York Regional Police will strategically collect, analyze, and disseminate timely information to internal and external policing units and agencies to allow for detection, disruption, and dismantling of gangs. Suppression. York Regional Police will continue to maintain a cycle of intelligence gathering and enforcement actions to provide a consistent level of knowledge related to activities associated with gun, gang, and street-level violence. Enforcement. York Regional Police will increase our internal.
Can you just stop? We need to flip the screens here. Want to see?
Sorry if I can interject here. We're seeing the slides on the left side column as well as the slide you're presenting and the notes on the bottom. So you want to hit from the beginning or something.
Why don't we start the presentation? It doesn't appear to be started. Okay, can you see the slides now?
Yeah, we can see the opening slide now, Al.
Okay.
Okay, apologies.
Enforcement. York Regional Police will increase our internal and external capacity to successfully target and prosecute crimes associated with guns, gangs, and street level violence in our communities. Community mobilization. Prevention and intervention are key to combating gang involvement and building safe and healthy communities.
As you can see in the slide here, between 2016 and 2021, we had a 4,000% increase in the number of frontline firearm seizures that we did on the road. So an important distinction here, frontline seizures are our frontline members conducting traffic stops, interacting with the community, completely different and separate from our investigative units and seizures. So our frontline members in 2016 only seized one firearm on the road. In 2021, we seized 41. And in 2022, as of October 1st, we are at 37. I can tell you that there's been at least 5 or 6 seizures since then, and we're projected to have about 48 to 50 frontline seizures in uniform this year. So why the dramatic increase? I can tell you we believe it's because of 2 things. Number one, the implementation of the Cannabis Act. In June 2018, the Cannabis Act was implemented. If police have reasonable grounds to believe that cannabis is being stored, transported, or consumed in a vehicle, the Cannabis Act allows us the authority to search the vehicle and all its occupants. It's no different than the Liquor License Act. Secondly, as you'll see in the next few slides, we provided our frontline officers with a tremendous amount of training to better equip them for their interactions on the front line. Whenever we seize a firearm, we generally send it out for tracing. Tracing the firearm is incredibly important for our investigation to know what's the point of origin. Where did that firearm come from? So what you're seeing in front of you right now is violent crime gun seizures from across the region in 2022 alone. The holdup unit, the homicide unit, the guns gang drug enforcement unit, and we also included the seizures from the front line. So for example, in our holdup unit, in 2022, we seized 25 crime guns. In 2022 and in late 2021, there was a massive increase in the number of carjackings and pharmaceutical robberies. Oftentimes they involve fire guns. Out of the 25 crime guns that we seized, 92% of them, or 23 of them, were traced back to the United States, illicit firearms that entered Canada. And that's going to be a common theme throughout this presentation, illicit firearms entering Canada from the United States. And anytime you see an unknown figure on the slide, it means one of 2 things. 1, the serial number was obliterated and we're unable to trace that firearm, or 2, it's in the process of being traced right now. So in this slide alone, contextualize, out of 107 firearms that you see, 83 of them were successfully traced. Out of those 83 guns that were traced, 100% of them were identified as illicit firearms coming in from the United States and into Canada.
Now I'd like to talk about intelligence. The intelligence that has been gathered has revealed the migration of Toronto street gang members moving into suburban communities such as York Region. This migration is taking place as gang members begin to accumulate wealth through crime and possess the means to purchase or rent in the suburban communities. Some of the highlights of the intelligence we've gathered in 2022 include that York Regional Police has had 32 different occurrences that involve gang members, and we've identified over 100 gang members from at least 37 different gangs that live in York Region. Suppression includes providing a consistent level of knowledge related to activities associated with gun, gang, and street level violence. Earlier, the inspector discussed the 4,000% increase in frontline firearm seizures that can be attributed not only to the authorities given to us under the Cannabis Act, but also as a result of the training our officers have been receiving over the last 2 years. This training includes the fact that over 350 officers have received training with our partners from the Public Prosecution Service of Canada and the Ministry of the Attorney General. Over 500 members have received pipeline criminal interdiction training. Over 250 members attended the organized crime and intelligence workshops, and 61 members have received a certificate from Queen's University in organized crime prevention.
What you're about to see here is an incredibly dramatic video from a violent shootout that happened here in our region. It happened in Vaughan in October of 2021. If I can draw your attention to the top of the screen where the white car is. In a few seconds here, you're going to see a violent shootout erupt between multiple people. Right about now, the gunshot erupts. This is happening here in our region. Thankfully, nobody was injured. But this highlights the fact that York Region is not immune to gang violence. When it comes to our enforcement pillar and our enforcement strategies, Project Monarch is a great example of that. This was a multi-jurisdictional led by York Regional Police, where we partnered with the Ontario Provincial Police, the London Police Service, and Peel Regional Police. In fact, the shooting in the previous slide, I can tell you that we identified a number of suspects from that shooting that were associated to members of this criminal network. Ultimately, we made 22 arrests. We laid over 400 charges. We seized 27 handguns, $1.3 million in illegal drugs, and over $160,000 in cash. This investigation dismantled a sophisticated criminal network that were responsible for the distribution of large quantities of cocaine and fentanyl across the province. We identified and dismantled a criminal pipeline responsible for the illicit flow of firearms entering Canada from the United States. We believe that these firearms were destined to the streets, into the hands of violent criminals, as you saw on the previous slide. One of the things we identified in Project Monarch, in the previous slide that you just saw, was a conspiracy to import illicit firearms into Canada from the United States. We believe that one of the points of entry for the alleged conspiracy to import these firearms was Walpole Island. This is a First Nations community in Western Ontario that borders Port Huron, Michigan. It's separated by the St. Clair River, which is a channel of water that creates and acts as an international boundary between the United States and Canada. I'm going to play with you a very short clip here to demonstrate what I'm talking about. To the left is Port Huron, Michigan. To the right is Walpole Island. At its narrowest point, there's an 800-meter gap. And as you can see, it's very easy for organized crime and other criminals to import illicit contraband into the country. It's not exclusive to firearms. That includes drugs, that includes currency, and that even includes human smuggling. We're going to touch on community mobilization shortly, but I wanted to highlight here that building partnerships and resiliency isn't exclusive here in York Region. Walpole Island is a First Nations community that has a very porous border point. Superintendent Duncan McIntyre, the officer in charge of organized crime and intelligence services, led a delegation of officers from York and the OPP to go meet with the Walpole Island chief and its council. It was incredibly important to give them a voice, and Superintendent McIntyre invited them to the press conference for Project Monarch, where the chief was able to provide his perspective, his concerns, the vulnerabilities in his community as it relates to this very porous point. Superintendent Duncan McIntyre, thank you for your leadership in your experience in leading that delegation. We discussed the illicit flow of firearms coming into Canada from the United States. I want to very quickly touch on Bill C-21, which came into effect on October 22nd, 2022. Bill C-21, this is a national freeze on the sale, the purchase, or the transfer of handguns by individuals within Canada, and a freeze on bringing in newly acquired handguns into Canada. The key here, newly acquired handguns and not illicit handguns. We don't have time to get into the entire bill in its entirety, but I do want to highlight that it touches on limiting firearms access by people engaged in intimate partner violence or self-harm, the national freeze, as I just indicated, on buying, selling, or the transferring of handguns, enhancement and anti-gun smuggling measures, as well as new firearm-related offenses, penalties, and wiretapping offenses. I'm also going to say this, that the York Regional Police supports any measures taken to enhance public and community safety. However, it is the position of York Regional Police that this bill will not disrupt the flow of illicit firearms entering Canada from the United States. Our assertion is based on the fact that the vast majority of firearms that we're seizing here on the streets in our region are coming from the United States. We demonstrated that earlier today. And just to provide further context to that, in 2021, we had 68 handguns traced. 98% of them were identified as entering Canada illicitly from the United States. The same can be said in 2020. We had 45 handguns that were traced. 94% of those handguns were traced to the United States. In terms of community mobilization, our final pillar, in terms of actually affecting long-term change and resilience, I can tell you community mobilization is arguably the most important pillar. In 2021, our Guns, Gangs, and Drug Enforcement Unit was awarded a provincial grant where we were able to implement a project dubbed Project Oracle. This was led by the Guns, Gang, and Drug Enforcement Unit in partnership with our community services, the Albion Neighborhood Services, as well as 360 Kids. This initiative was created to identify and support at-risk youth here within our community in York Region. They are provided with adequate support and training to help them develop and become future leaders here in our community. All the participants completed a 12-week program. They received team and confidence building exercises. Some of the training that they received was in human trafficking prevention, gang prevention, seeking employment, resume writing, building healthy relationships, wellness, and meditation, all skills that they can take with them into the real world. At the end of the 12 weeks, 32 youth were successfully graduated the program. They each received a brand new laptop. They each received a Presto transit card to help them commute. And some of the kids actually entered into a 360 initiatives, a job employment initiative where they're currently working. We also received, as part of this initiative, funding to educate 100 of our young frontline members. To build resilience in our community, our frontline members are going to be educated on unique perspectives and the benefits of prevention and intervention strategies. Discussions surrounding grassroots issues within our communities that can lead to gang recruitment. This training is set to take place in the next few months. I'm going to share a very quick story with you here with regards to this initiative. The 32 kids were broken into two cohorts. In the very first cohort of kids, part of the 12-week initiative, our volunteers from York Regional Police and our partner agencies, we would take the kids out for dinner and we would interact with them and communicate with them. During one of the very first dinners in the first cohort, there was a number of kids that approached the facilitator and said, "We've never done this before. We've never went out for dinner. This is something that's very unique and foreign to us. Thank you for giving the opportunity to us to experience something new." This was a story that I'm sharing with you because it really does strike a chord with me and the entire team. It reminds us as to why these initiatives are so very important. In policing, it's very easy for us to measure success in projects like in Project Monarch. I can tell you the number of arrests. I can tell you the number of seizures. I can tell you the outcome in court. But how do you measure success with initiatives such as this, when the return on investment isn't expected to take place for about 5 or 10 years? So why do we continue to do initiatives like this when the measure of success is incredibly difficult to gauge? It's very simple. We care about our community. We understand that by investing into the youth today, that it's going to lead to future leaders in our community. And we know that we're making a difference. In summary, the York Regional Police is committed to enhance public safety, and we will continue to implement the Guns and Gangs Violence Reduction Strategy through these 4 pillars: intelligence, suppression, enforcement, and community mobilization. We recognize that the combination of firearm and drugs can often lead to violence, and that anytime we can seize a gun, we know that we're saving a life. Our commitment to our community will continue and is unwavering, as you've seen here today. We will continue to keep our community safe and secure for excellence in policing. Thank you, and we're prepared to take any questions.
Thank you very much for that very thorough presentation. Any questions from members of the committee? Jennifer, go ahead.
Thank you, team. I don't have questions. I actually just want to make a quick comment. I think it's an excellent work, excellent presentation, and 2 things resonates with me. One is the connection with the US in terms of the source of illegal guns. And I know that YRP and working with its peers in Canada and peers in the US, I think that collaboration definitely is beyond York Region border. And I know that there are a lot of confidential information activities. So I support the team, not divulge into the details, but I would like to point out that. And also that effort, also it's multi-level government, York Region, Toronto, Ontario, federal, in working together. And I think the channels, the voice, if the voice could be louder, hopefully it will be helpful. So OAPSB, the Ontario Chief of Police Association, PAO, CAPG, all those platforms of public safety, if they could all be mobilized to express this view of controlling illegal guns crossing border, I think it'll be helpful. And then the second thing resonate with me is Project Oracle. I totally agree with the team that it's so important to invest in the community, in the younger generation. And I take the analogy of we are a sports country and we are very successful with our sports teams. And the reason for that success is we start with children. All the hockeys, the soccers and baseballs, we start with community and with children. So I think same thing for public safety. If we start with the younger generation and they are all leading a healthy lifestyle, then our community will be very safe. So thanks to the team for doing this work, although there's no immediate return, but it's very important for the longer term benefit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Any question, comments from members of the committee? Chief, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Inspector Salia said. I can tell you that there's been conversation directly between myself and Minister Mendocino about this, directly in relation to the border issue, and reiterate what Ahmed said around, anything the government can do to take guns off the street is going to make us safer. But this is that one area that Ms. Fang has highlighted that we obviously urge provincial government to lobby federal government on. And I can tell you those discussions are ongoing, and both the OACP and the CACP have written directly to the federal government on this matter. So just to let you know that little piece. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. And a few years ago, I always asked that any bill that is presented by the federal provincial government be kind of assessed as to what it costs us, right? So federal governments and provincial governments, sometimes they make demands of our police services board and policing in general, not necessarily understanding the impact that has on budgets. And I do think that it's something that I hope the new board and people are continuing on this board will continue in the future because resources are extremely important. Chief, I raised this because I was in federal parliament for 22 years, and it's great to give sort of directives from above and download responsibilities. But I think one of the responsibilities of Police Services Board, as we have done in past bills, is to outline to the responsible governments that in fact there are needs, financial resource needs that need to be dealt with. So I just say this to kind of remind people that we're doing the very best here at York Region with limited resources, and the cooperation that the federal government and provincial government expect from us ought to be also addressed from a resource space. So I know that this work that you're doing, that you've outlined here in this report, is extremely important. This is an investment in the future as well, which it's important to underline. When you're getting young people involved, you're investing in the future. And this is perhaps the best money you can invest in because our present actions will largely determine what our future results are. So I just wanted to say that as a commentary. But thanks everybody for all the great work you have done. It's pretty evident to me in today's meeting that we are very busy addressing many, many important issues. So thanks again. We will now move. Actually, you know what? I'm going to get a motion. Let's get Mr. Cortolucci involved right away. Mr. Cortolucci, if you don't mind, just moving a motion to receive the presentations of today's meeting on Monday, November 7th, 2022. Who would like to second that with Mr. Cortolucci? We'll get Pellegrini to second it. Any opposition? Motion carries. Thanks, everybody. We have no deputations, and we have communications. Communication is 7.1. It's the order in council. Lieutenant Governor Montier approved an order on October 2022, appointing Mayor Cortolucci as a member of the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board for a 3-year term. Who would like to move that? Chair Emerson, would you like to move that? And what about Jennifer? Thank you so much. Any opposition? Motion carries. Now we continue to the determination, consideration of adoption and of reports. I'd just like to remind members of the Police Services Board that in fact we already addressed 8.5 earlier on. So we have now 8.1 to 8.4. And then we'll deal with 8.6. And the first item is purchasing bylaw quarterly report. If there are discussions on this.
Chair,
Sure, go ahead.
If I could start, thank you. And through you, I'm going to ask Jeff Channel to just address the financial component of 240 Prospect or whatever other financial piece to this. And then Deputy De Silva will give the board a very high level overview of the timelines associated to 240 Prospect. So Jeff, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Jeff. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you. And good morning to the board. Welcome to Mr. Cortolucci through you, Chair. Table 1 on page 2 of the report outlines 3 tender and request proposals executed in the third quarter of 2022. I wanted to bring to your attention the budgeting impacts around the interior renovation of 240 Prospect Street in Newmarket. This is an award of $3.08 million to our vendor, Twin Contracting. This came originally to the board's attention through the 2022 budget at $2.05 million. Last February, in our original request for a proposal, we turned that proposal down due to inflationary impacts due to the submissions and the bids were over budget. So we reprofiled this project and on June 30th, council approved $1.8 million reprofiling into this project. And the reprofiling process requires an offset. So York Regional Police, within our capital plan, we chose to reduce funds within our renovations project and transfer them over to this project, as well as our one district facility. So again, we've reprofiled to the board. This came to the board's attention last month, but it was in the notes section. So that's why I want to give you an overview of the financing. Before I hand it over to Deputy De Silva, I just wanted to mention that this does have payback to it. So we will be concluding our lease at Young Mulock Center, and that annual cost is just under $200,000 a year. Deputy De Silva.
Thank you, Jeff. And through you, Chair Bevilacqua, I would like to provide the board with a brief update on the building constructions and plans. So phase 1, the mechanical work at 240 Prospect Street, that began August 2022 with anticipated completion of a second phase May of 2023. Phase 2 of the general contracting renovations, which is the interior of the building, commenced November 1st, and it is due to conclude May of 2023. And our anticipated move-in date is the end of May of 2023. The units that have been proposed in terms of moving into 240 Prospect Street are community services, victim services, our mental health support services team, our call diversion unit that is currently situated at our training building, and professional standards. And with the movement of this personnel, as Jeff has indicated, that'll enable us to actually move our services out of Young and Mulak and facilitate movements of our unit within HQ. A total of 70 members will be moving into this building, allowing us to maintain a very visible presence within the downtown core of Newmarket. And subject to any questions that the board may have, that is the brief update.
Thank you so much for that. Jennifer, go ahead.
Thank you, Jeff and Paulo. Just to clarify, Jeff, if I hear you correctly, did you say this tender was originally in February this year for 2,000,005 and now it's 308? I just want to understand the inflation impact.
Thank you, Ms. Spang, and through you, Chair. No, the tender came in significantly over 2.05. 2.05 was in fact our budget at the time. So the initial proposals came in all over, which required us to conclude that proposal process and seek the reprofiling of the budget, which we did in June.
Oh, okay. So it's just under budget a little bit. If I may also ask a curious question for the baseball caps, and what do we do with the retired baseball caps? Do we donate to certain community groups, and are the baseball caps for uniform members only or for everybody?
I can take that. Yes, through you, Chair. The baseball caps, we haven't had to retire any because it's such a new program. So we haven't even, but usually what will happen is they're going back based on the fact that they're worn out. So in all likelihood, there'd be nobody to donate those to. I guess we'd have to have a conversation about that. And sorry, the other question was about who. It's essentially all of our frontline folks. That would include traffic, our community-oriented response units, our frontline members out in the platoons, and as well our court security folks when they're out in the field. If they're in court, they're expected to wear their forage cap. And if any of those are at an official event that requires a forage cap wearing a tunic, then everybody would wear a forage cap when required. So essentially frontline, including our community-oriented response, traffic, and courts. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from committee members? Okay. Seeing none, who would like to move the recommendation? Jennifer, would you like to do that? And what about Walter? Would you like to second that? Thank you very much. We now move to 8.2, direct purchase of semi-automatic pistols. Any comments on this, or should we move just to the?
Sorry, Chair, I was muted. I apologize. And through you, I will turn it over to Superintendent McCloskey. He's the superintendent in charge of corporate development and driving this project forward, but just required a quick overview for the board. So Kevin, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, Chair Bevilacqua, Chairman Emerson, all members of the Police Services Board, including the newest member, Mr. Cortellucci, and all other people joining us today. Today, I'll be speaking to you about the direct purchase of semi-automatic pistols. This report requests that the board enter into a contract to approve a direct purchase for the purchase and supply of Glock Model 45 9mm semi-automatic pistols to Rampart International Corporation at a total cost not to exceed $1.16 million plus applicable taxes for a term of up to 5 years. The reason we are putting this forward is that the current Glock Model 22 or G22 and Model 23, G23, are the current 40 caliber semi-automatic pistols used by York Regional Police and have been in use since 2003. The G22 and 23s in service at York Regional Police are nearing the end of their optimal life and are due to be replaced. The G45 9mm semi-automatic pistol has been identified as the preferred replacement pistol. The reasons for this are that the unit price of the G45 9mm pistol is identical to the new Generation 5 G22 or 23 40 caliber platform at a unit cost of $694 per pistol. The G45 9mm pistol is compatible with all current holsters that are utilized by York Regional Police, reducing any training requirements. the G540 caliber pistol is not compatible. A transition to 9mm platform ammunition will result in a 17% reduction in annual ammunition costs due to the lower purchase price of 9mm ammunition. Excuse me. The approximate savings is about $29,000 annually. The G45 9mm pistol platform is the only pistol that can currently meet the needs of York Regional Police with respect to ease of transition and adaptability to current equipment. By adopting a new caliber of ammunition, YRP has greater access to needed ammunition while benefiting from additional cost savings. Subject to any questions, that's my presentation.
Any comments or questions? Jennifer, go ahead.
Thank you. Just some quick questions, please. In the report page, second page, it mentioned we still have inventory of pistols with third and fourth generation. So is the intention to continue to use up this inventory while transitioning to the G45, or what do we do with the inventory pistols? And then also, does this contract include maintenance, or maintenance is a separate contract?
Thank you, Ms. Feng. We don't have any current stock of the old 40 caliber pistol to hand out anymore. Anything that we do have is in deployment as we speak. And with respect to service and maintenance, we have our own armorers in-house that service our pistols.
And if I may, last question, this exclusive distributor, is it fair to assume they also supply this model to Toronto, Peel, Ottawa? They all use similar model pistols?
Different services are each using a variety of different pistols, but Rampart is the sole distributor for Glock within Canada.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Mr. Burcho, I think you have your hand up.
Yes, just a quick question. Is there any transition training associated with the conversion from the 40 to the 9?
Thank you, Mr. Purchell. Any training that we need to do is quite simply done through our in-service training, the annual requals that would otherwise happen whether we were transitioning or not. The pistol, other than being 9mm versus 40 caliber, operates and handles the exact same way. The only real difference in terms of firing is that it, given that it's a smaller caliber, it has slightly less recoil to it, which actually makes it a more comfortable gun and has shown that it's typically more accurate among memberships.
Okay, I think Norma, you had your hand up, Adam, if I'm correct.
You are correct. I wondered, how do you retire all the older pistols? What do you do with them? How do you dispose of them?
Under the Firearms Act, we are only allowed to sell the firearms to other Canadian police services. However, given the age of the firearms and the fact that 80% or more of police services in the country have transitioned to 9mm, the pistols will be destroyed through what's known as a smelting process.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, I see none. Any comments? Okay, no comments. I need a mover and a seconder for 8.2. Norma, would you like to move that? And Walter, can you second that for me? Thank you so much. Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you. 8.3, amended service fee and charges. Who would like to speak on that?
Chair, through you, I think a member of the board wished to pull this one. I'm not entirely sure, but it's
yes, that was Jennifer.
Yeah,
Jennifer, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just have a clarification question. I think Jeff always has the answers. Is it fair to say the change of fees for this year, January increase is about 4%? Because I see you have two CPI numbers, and I'm not sure which one apply to this new fee because it didn't show the old one. So just want to understand the overall kind of average level of the fee increase, please. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Fang, and through you, Chair. That's exactly right. The majority of the fees have been recosted, and this is what we do every 2 years. And that allows for above average inflation. In the off years, we do have inflationary increases that are only tied to CPI or around that 4% number, Jennifer, that you mentioned. But these have all been recosted and they reflect our current cost base of all of the fees. And they do average, I think we're in a little bit above 4%. The financial implication speaks to some increases within the fees, but we are seeing a softening of demand on several fee functions. So when you do hear from us from the budget, we're coming to you with the budget in the public December 14th. I think what you'll hear is that we're very, very flat on these fees, meaning the increases sort of offset the softness of demand in other fee structures. I hope that helps.
Yeah, and you already allude to my next question on the budget impact in terms of revenue. So just want to clarify that now the full police record check still subject to a fee, but then the criminal record checks for volunteers are all free now. But when we did the budget, our budget probably include those fees. With this change, would that be a negative impact? Hopefully not significant.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Fang, and through you, Chair. That's exactly right. It's a modest impact. We're talking about vulnerable sector checks, and a portion of those, the light version. There are two versions of vulnerable sector checks. Most of our charities, school boards, and our demand side, they need the full record check. So we're expecting over 80% to continue to be paid vulnerable sector checks. There will be a segment that will be unpaid, and we're monitoring that closely.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Jennifer, you okay? Okay, great. Would you like to move that? And seconded by Cortellucci. Thank you. Any opposition? Motion carries. We now move to item 8.4. As you know, it's the public complaint regarding services provided by York Regional Police. Who would like to speak to that? Anyone? If not, we'll proceed to the recommendation. Who would like to move the recommendation, Mr. Chair Emerson, seconded by Mayor Pellegrini. Any opposition? Motion carries. And then we are now 8.5, as you know, we've already done that item. 8.6 is Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan nomination to the Human Services Planning Board. A report from of the Executive Director. Mafalda, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. The Region of York is again seeking a representative of our board to sit on the Human Services Planning Board for the new term of council. Currently, board member Jennifer Fang sits on that board. By way of some background, the Police Services Act requires a municipality to consult with a number of stakeholders in the development of the community safety and well-being plan, including a representative of the Police Services Board. In May 2022, York Regional Council approved the plan, so the plan is now complete and approved. But going forward, the Human Services Planning Board will act again in an advisory role for the implementation of the plan. So we are seeking here today an appointment to that board.
Yes, Jennifer, go ahead.
Thank you, Mafalda, Mauricio. If I may just add a quick comment, please. I think that's an excellent committee, and it really serves as a platform for collaboration across agencies in York Region, and also information sharing. I found it particularly interesting and helpful throughout the pandemic that our public health team provided a regular update to the committee. And I will be happy to continue. I believe in the proper balance of continuity and board renewal or committee renewal because of the nature of that for information sharing and collaboration. It's like our public consultation. I feel a diverse and a participation provide different perspectives and views would be very helpful for that committee. Therefore, I suggest rotating a different board member to join this committee in this new term.
So Jennifer, are you saying that you will not continue? Is that what you're saying?
I will always be the last resort of the board, but as I said, I suggest I want to give the opportunity to other board members to consider, right?
Okay, I knew you were sitting on that, but I wasn't approached by anybody that was interested. But if you are, now is the time to speak. Norma, go ahead.
I was not aware that that was that option was available. I am interested and would be willing to serve on that.
Sure. Thank you.
If my term is renewed, that is. So, thank you.
Chair Emerson?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Norma, for putting your name forward. And the committee does meet virtually, and their all meetings will be done virtually. There may be the odd one come. So I would move that Norma be appointed to the Human Services Planning Board. Mr. Chair, I can say to Norma, if everything goes well on November 17th, your name will go forward for 2 more additional years. I just have to get it to regional council, and then we will look, because we will have some people moving off and on, so we need to keep continuity going. So if you're willing, the clerk will be in contact with you if you're willing to stay on for 2 additional years. So that's where I'm coming from, Mr. Chair. But I would move Norma McCullough to be the representative on the Human Services Planning Board.
Thank you so much. Jennifer, would you like to second that? Okay. Any opposition? Motion carries. Congratulations, Norma.
Thank you.
I know you'll do a great job.
I will.
Okay. So now, unfinished business. We have none. Other business? None. Now I'm going to ask to convene in private meeting for the purposes of considering confidential items pertaining to legal and personnel matters in accordance with Section 35(4) of the Police Services Act. Pellegrini, thank you. Cortolucci, thank you. Any opposition? Motion carries. Thanks. We'll give